John and Ken Show rolls on here. John Cobell and Ken Shampoo. I tell you, these high-speed rail scam artists keep shoveling more material at us every week. Now they've got another new business plan. I don't know how many of these there have been, but they claimed the last one was entirely accurate, but since everyone started screaming, this costs too much and this takes too long, now they're going to come up with a new scam that they claim is going to cost less and they'll be able to build quicker. But they're offering us some kind of wacky deal where, and it's not entirely clear, they're going to be using the existing local rail lines as part of the high-speed rail network. But that's not what the referendum says you can spend the money on.
No, in fact, I think an editorial in the Orange County Register has it exactly right. Mr. Richard, that's Dan Richard, who is now the head of the High-Speed Rail Authority, he's the chairman, he said costs would be cut by blending the high-speed project with existing slower rail systems. But such an arrangement would appear to violate Prop 1A stipulation that the bond cash go only to trains that can run at speeds at least 200 miles per hour. No amount of bureaucratic revision can keep the California High-Speed Rail Authority from being a high-speed boondoggle.
Okay, so
they are trying to play a shell game with people here.
Now I understand this even clearer now, because it looks like the Register's analysis is they're just going to use local rail
and call it high speed. Right?
And they're going to use it as feeders into the high-speed network.
And they're going to tell us that somewhere down the road, maybe we can retrofit the local tracks and make them move so the trains can move 200 miles per hour. But I don't think they'll be able to pull that off.
And someday, if people flap their arms quickly enough, they'll be able to fly. Yeah, this is a scam. They're just going to dump money into the local transportation bureaucracies and say, here, since the high-speed idea didn't work, why don't you guys take this money, use it for whatever you want, just as long as a railroad track meets the high-speed rail in Palmdale.
In fact, you're right. And by the way, to answer what you were bringing up before the break, because this Californian, this Bakersfield.com article and something called the Californian really lays out exactly what we're talking about. Apparently, the Kern Council of Governments has long supported a southern option because it would bridge downtown Bakersfield Amtrak station and Palmdale's Metrolink station. Connecting those two with rail service would complete a gap in the existing rail system and greatly improve ridership, really. This according to the Council of Governments' Rob Ball.
There's a lot of traffic between Bakersfield and Palmdale?
I don't know. But I guess you could take another train, John, to get to Palmdale and then, hop on that and then get to Bakersfield if that was your...
This is not what the high-speed rail promise was about.
But a spokeshole for the Federal Railroad Administration, which offered the project federal funding on the condition that the construction begin in the Central Valley, and that's where we are with the Bakersfield and Chowchilla thing, said the agency will make no such stipulations about where the system should operate initially. See the difference between construction and operation?
Right, so they can construct it. They can
start by actually breaking ground in Chowchilla or Bakersfield. But if they eventually want to hook up something between Palmdale and Bakersfield, and that actually gets going sooner, that's not a violation.
You notice this is all about the small cities in the middle of the state? Merced and Bakersfield and Palmdale. And we're not hearing...
Well,
I thought this was
they
LA.
Look at Palmdale as being L.A. Because, once you connect to the Metrolink, then you can get yourself back into L.A. and even through downtown.
I thought it was a train going 220 miles an hour to get you from Los Angeles to San Francisco.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
In 2 hours or so.
That was what most people, I think, who voted for this thought that's what it meant.
Now we're hearing about how they can quicken the service between Bakersfield and Palmdale. Well, that's wonderful. Oh, and don't forget about that trip up to Merced that you've always been pining for.
See, this is what I'm afraid this means. You'll start in downtown L.A., and I don't know how long, and you'll end up taking the rail system, and maybe it's Metrolink, I'm not sure, to get to Palmdale. Then there might be a high-speed branch to get you from Palmdale to Bakersfield. I'm not kidding. And then eventually you can get on another, but by the time you get to San Francisco, if that's really your final destination, it could take 10 hours instead of 2 hours.
I remember back east, when Ken and I worked in Jersey a long time ago, and for a while my wife and I were living in New York City. And I tried out mass transit. I tried out the train system. Rather than drive there 65 miles one way, 65 miles back, and all the tolls in Jersey, and you had to, go through you had to go through the Holland or Lincoln Tunnel, and it was expensive. And I remember trying to take the train a couple of days. And I realized what a pain in the neck it was because I'd have to walk to a subway stop in New York. They'd take the subway to I guess it was Grand Central Station or the Port Authority. Anyway, walk to the subway, take the subway to the train, then go through the labyrinth, underground, get on the train. Train takes me to a stop 10 miles north of the station, where then I had to get out and take something else to get. I had to leave my car behind. That's what it was. What I would do is I'd leave the radio station, drive the car 10 miles, pick up a train to New York, get off the train, take a subway, get off the subway, walk home. Then the next morning, I'd walk back, take the subway to the train back to 10 miles north of the radio station where my car was in the lot.
You left your car overnight in a lot 10 miles from the radio station?
I must have done that. I remember trying it out, and the whole thing was it was crazy. It was just nonsense.
You said he had a lot of junkers.
Yeah, it was that whole old Hyundai I had. Cool. But it was like you had to walk to the subway, to the train, to the car, then the car, to the train, to the subway, to the walk. I tried that 2 days. I was like, this is stupid.
All right, well, we'll see what this business plan brings in a couple of weeks, but we think we've already given you a preview that it's a lot of BS. They're going to use the word blended. They're going to tell you the cost is coming down and the time period to construct this wondrous high-speed rail has been diminished. And you know what else? They think that if they present a good enough business plan, they can get private investors to cough up $11 billion. Really sad.
And the whole thing may be illegal.
Yeah, exactly. All right, when we come back, there could be a holiday in the drug war violence in Mexico. We'll tell you why.
Johnny Ken.